Breaking news on RT International. Islamic State claims responsibility for an axe-wielding attack on a German train which severely wounded several people. And toughest measures for doped athletes along with protection of clean competitors. That's the message from the Russian Olympic Committee in the wake of a report accusing Russia of a widespread doping scheme. And Trump haters get loud as the Republican National Convention enters its second day in the U.S. city of Cleveland. Thanks for joining us here on RT International. We're continuing our breaking news for you this hour. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for an axe-wielding attack on a German train which severely injured several people. A hand-drawn ISIL flag allegedly found in the room of the Afghan asylum seeker, that's according to officials. The 17-year-old attacked railway passengers in the German city of Würzburg in the Bavaria region on Monday night. Let's get details now. Crossing live to Berlin. RT's Peter Oliver standing by again. Peter, the latest that we know, the updates on the story, please.
Hi. Well, the Islamic State group have said that the 17-year-old that carried out this frenzied axe and knife attack on train passengers was one of their soldiers, that he was acting according to their instructions. Now, we've also heard from the Interior Minister of the state of Bavaria. He briefed press on exactly where they were with the investigation as we tried to piece together exactly who was behind this particular attack.
According to witnesses, the attacker was yelling Allahu Akbar, and later in his room a handmade ISIL flag was found.
Well, similarities are being drawn between this attack and the attack involving a truck in Nice that left 84 people dead just last week. Both cases, it seems that the inspiration behind the attacks had been the Islamic State organization. And we're starting to piece together exactly who this 17-year-old was right now. We know he came from Afghanistan. He had been staying in a refugee center here in Germany upon arrival in the country. He was seeking asylum as an unaccompanied minor and had recently been transferred to live in a foster home. And it was in that home that they found the Islamic State flag. Now, he was shot dead by police special forces after fleeing the scene of his attack and then trying to turn on police to attack them. We're also finding out more about the victims in this. 4 people seriously wounded, 2 of them understood to be in a very, very critical condition. They're all from Hong Kong and tourists visiting Germany. We understand that they're all receiving medical treatment at the moment in separate hospitals, and Chinese officials from the consulate in Munich are with them, providing any help that they can. But what we are seeing following this attack in Germany is the discussion over Germany's asylum policy and its refugee policy. Just last year, the country opened its borders, saying that everybody was welcome. Well, what we're now understanding is that, through some leaked documents, that the German authorities are ultimately rather powerless when it comes to deporting people who don't have the right to asylum in the country. These leaked documents say there may be as many as 33,000 people here who haven't got the correct passports, the correct documents, or haven't provided the correct information to police. What we do know at the moment is that ISIS have claimed responsibility for this attack, but there's certainly going to be more questions. Exactly where was this 17-year-old radicalized? Had he traveled here from Afghanistan and operated as a sleeper agent of some kind? Or perhaps even more worrying, had he been radicalized while he was staying here in Germany at one of those refugee centers? All of these things are going to be questions for the police, for the authorities. We're going to be looking to hear from them in the coming hours.
Live from Berlin, RT's Peter Oliver, thank you. And this ISIL-linked attack is the second in the EU in a week. On Thursday, more than 80 people killed and over 300 injured in the French city of Nice when a truck ploughed into the crowds during Bastille Day celebrations.
This truck of death passed a few meters away from me and I didn't even realize it. I saw bodies fly like bowling pins in its path.
Suddenly, people started running and screaming. At first, we thought they just didn't want to get wet from the rain. Then I saw the truck, which had driven straight into the crowd, and I heard 3 shots. Then I understood that they were running for their lives.
My wife, a meter away, she was dead. The lorry ripped through everything, poles, trees. Some people were hanging on the door, trying to stop it.
I almost stepped on a corpse. It was horrible. It looked like a battlefield. All these bodies and their families, they spent hours on the ground holding the cold hands of bodies dismembered by the truck.
There were families crossing the street with kids, with bodies everywhere. I saw a mom covering her child's eyes, telling him to keep them tightly shut.
Islamic State has claimed the Nice attacker was one of its soldiers who answered the call to target citizens of states fighting the terror group. The man responsible for Thursday's horrific attack was a Tunisian-born delivery driver. He was known to police, but not known to the French or Tunisian intelligence services. There are reports his behavior had changed dramatically prior to the attack. Somehow they know that he became aggressive and began to mention ISIL in conversations. Initially, authorities said there was no evidence linking him to any terror group, but then they later said he suddenly became very radicalized. Well, today's incident in Germany is not the first incident involving migrants reported in that country. It's sparking tensions in society and triggering a number of far-right groups to stage protests. Frank-Jürgen Weiss, the head of the German Federal Office for Migration and Refugees, has claimed the country needs more refugees as a way to prop up the labor force. Well, since January, over 200,000 migrants have arrived in Germany. 4 or 5 did so without any passport. In 2015, over 1 million of them came to the country, but reportedly only 30,000 of them have managed to find a job. Well, we spoke to Peter Schulze, a professor of international relations from the University of Göttingen. He thinks that the authorities did not pay enough attention to the danger of extremists infiltrating the country.
The change or the transformation from a peaceful juvenile or a minor into a terrorist or an attacker or a criminal is not happening in Germany. It has been done before. I think that many of the unaccompanied juveniles which came in last year in autumn and during the winter time have been brainwashed and educated as children soldiers in places like Afghanistan, Syria or Iraq. So this is an issue which has been probably not so clearly examined by our BND, that means the constitutional protection and agencies, the anti-terrorist agencies, but now they're waking up to this issue, but it is too late, unfortunately.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel has long spoken of the need to help those fleeing misery. It's taken a year for her to perhaps change her tune.
There are a number of terrorists who grew up in Europe, in Germany as well, who were then trained in Syria and came back, in part, even using the refugee flow to smuggle in terrorists. Those who flee misery, war, political oppression, we are responsible for helping them whether we want to or not.